Next, let's queer up politics. Kamala Harris launches presidential campaign slamming Trump's Project 2025. Vice President Kamala Harris kicked off her presidential campaign with a vibrant event in Wisconsin this week, where she energized the crowd with a clear message and a pointed critique of Donald Trump's conservative agenda. During her speech, Harris criticized Project 2025, a conservative blueprint outlining Trump's potential second-term agenda. She said, quote, "Donald Trump wants to take our country backwards. He and his extreme Project 2025 agenda will weaken the middle class. We know we got to take this seriously," end quote. Project 2025 promotes controversial policies, including ending anti-discrimination measures for LGBTQ individuals, restricting gender-affirming care, and banning transgender people from military service. It says, quote, "Only heterosexual two-parent families are safe for children," end quote. It also advocates for halting USAID's efforts to promote LGBTQ rights internationally. The vice president also reiterated her opposition to Trump's previous economic policies, such as attempts to dismantle the Affordable Care Act.
America has tried these failed economic policies before, but we are not going back. We are not going back.
Despite Project 2025 being developed by 140 of his former aides, Trump denies any connection with it. On the other hand, in a 2022 video from a Heritage Foundation dinner, you see Trump praising Heritage as a great group and saying they would lay the groundwork in details for exactly what our movement will do. Today, Vice President Harris delivered the keynote speech at the American Federation of Teachers and continued to advocate for the LGBTQ community.
So we want to ban assault weapons, and they want to ban books. Can you imagine? All the while, these extremists also attack the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. They pass so-called don't say gay laws. Now I have to tell you, so many of you may know, in 2004, on Valentine's Day weekend, I was one of the first elected officials in the country to perform same-sex marriages. So here's the thing. It pains me so to think 20 years later that there are some young teachers in their 20s who are afraid to put up a photograph of themselves and their partner for fear they could lose their job. And what is their job? The most noble of work, teaching other people's children. And God knows we don't pay you enough as it is. In this moment, we are in a fight for our most fundamental freedoms. And to this room of leaders, I say, bring it on.
Does anyone else feel like they can finally breathe again? That hope has been restored? I mean, she is truly, sometimes I think if she had had this kind of energy when she ran for president the first time, would things have been different?
Yeah.
But you know what? Yeah. Now is her time. And I just hope that Harris is cautious when it comes to her choice of running mate. A lot is at stake with that decision. So please choose wisely.
Yeah, I mean, this energy, we needed this energy, right? Like people who, lean left and, liberals, Democrats, whatever you want to define yourself, people who support Biden. I mean, I think that we were a little drained with the activities over the last month, and we needed a new energy. And she's brought a new energy to the Democratic Party. She's brought a new energy to America, right? To preserving and saving our democracy. I love, the speech with the teachers union, particularly in states like Florida, where we last year lost like thousands of teachers who fled the state because of our anti-LGBTQ policies, our anti-Black policies, just the way in which this governor, who's very conservative, I won't say his name, who supports our president running for re-election, he literally has, enacted legislation that is just so discriminatory. So, like, to Kamala's point there, people can't be themselves. People can't post pictures. People had to go to bathrooms that were of the gender of their assigned birth versus the gender that they identify with. So we have seen the implications here in Florida of parts of Project 2025, right? And so I'm glad that, she spoke to the teachers. I think she spoke to the hearts and minds of them. She really, really, really has appealed to them. I love the end quote where she says, bring it on, she is ready. And this reminds me of in '08, that fired up and ready to go, right? Under the Obama movement, right?
Yes.
Like the woman from South Carolina, African-American lady who was going door to door. She was in her, 70s or whatever. She's like, yep, I'm fired up and ready to go. And that bring it on reminds me of that moment. I do want to talk a little bit about the fact that last night, Joe Biden, President Biden, gave a phenomenal address to our nation. And, he talked about what's at stake here. And he talked about the future of our democracy. He talked about, he started off by talking about presidents and, Jefferson and Washington and Lincoln and Roosevelt. And I loved what he said about the fact that, like, we don't bow down to kings in this nation, right? That's not what democracy is. He talked about democracy as being an idea, right? And that we're fighting for the idea of what a democracy is. He talked about all the accomplishments of their administration and everything that they have fought for, everything that they've accomplished, and everything that, we need to continue to fight for as a nation. And so I just, one of the lines that he said was, quote, the sacred task of perfecting our union is not about me. It's about you. It's about your families. It's about your futures. It's about we the people. And we can never forget that. And I never have, and quote. And like, so Joe Biden, such an amazing president, to be honest with you, and has had so many accolades, and such a courageous person to be able to bow out, to know that it was my time to bow out, and I know he's criticized, well, he should have done it sooner or later. That's nor here or there. He identified his weakness. He identified that because he loved his country so much, and he said it in his speech, he loves his country so much that he said that it was the right thing to do. And he, everything that he's fought for, absolutely corresponds to our community, and it impacts the LGBTQ plus community. There's a lot at stake in this election. Project 2025 is in fact Trump's blueprint. I don't care if he tries to deny it or not. It is the conservative blueprint. He is bought by the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation, people don't know how public policies are often made. Public policy is made, and I have a PhD in public policy, so I will tell you this. Public policy is made by the think tanks. It's made by the educators. It's made by us who craft and do all this research and think of policies, and we feed it to the elected officials and their staffers, and they just go tweak it and put their names on it. But it's really made by think tanks, and the Heritage Foundation has laid out a platform. They have laid out the conservative agenda. Whether people want to say it's not and Trump want to distance himself, that will be the platform for the Republican Party should Trump get in. And so, to Biden's point, to Harris' point, we're fighting for our democracy. We're fighting for, we do not want an autocratic government, right? We don't want an authoritarian leader, right? What our dictator, right? Which is what Donald Trump wants, which is what the Heritage Foundation is putting forth in the Project 25. So it is so crucial, so crucial that we pay attention, to this election cycle, that we listen to the words of our elected officials, and that we listen to our president who humbly bowed out, gracefully and humbly bowed out. Talk about a man who, like, of conviction, who really does believe in the promise of this democracy. Most leaders won't bow out. Most leaders will keep on going. He did it for the sake of the future.
I think about old Mother Reagan in her Alzheimer's state. That we were just, we were fooled into thinking he was still functioning. He was barely functioning. So bravo to President Biden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and let's bring it on.